Hello everyone, I'm reporting to you live from my newest B&B. So I just wanted to make a video real quick, and I'm just gonna get straight to the point because I'm gonna try to make this short. I wanted to tell everybody about my deal yesterday just because it was very interesting. I think it would help people in the future if they go through a similar situation. And also it's just pretty entertaining. So let me just say that I'm talking about Georgia. Most real estate laws are state specific. So, if you live in another state, you're going to want to check the laws in your state because Georgia the laws aren't always the same. So don't take what I said and be like, well, Ashley had this happen. So sometimes they're similar, but it really depends on the state. So make sure you have a lawyer, a realtor, or somebody you're working with to, make sure if you run into something, which I hope you don't, but just, understand that. So anyway, we've renovated some properties this year, and we were pretty much done. We've got enough going on, only have so much money. So it's like, we good. Let's just wait till next year. But then I was sitting home one day, I had put Tijan to sleep, and boom, I get this notification that's like, somebody for sale by owner, Smyrna. What? Like, okay, Smyrna is like a dream location for us. It is for most people in Atlanta. And whether it's my primary house, investment property, doesn't matter. Like, I just, waiting for the day that we get to do some deals in Cobb County, but in general, but definitely some of these, up and coming areas. Well, Smyrna's already coming. It's not up and coming, it's coming. So I get this notification and it's like for sale by owner. I look at the house, I look at the pictures, I look at the price, and I'm like, man, this is kind of crazy. So I call my husband like, hey, I know we're not buying anything right now, but look at this. We do this all the time. Like every few days we send like a house like, oh, what do you think about this, da, da, da. And then it usually just comes back to like, yeah, this ain't really what we're doing right now, because if we're actively looking for a house, then it's a different conversation. But I had to send him this one. So I said, well, I just wanted to show you, I don't really know. I just, it's crazy, right? Good price. He's like, well, call him, talk to him, see what he says. And I'm like, all right, let me call him. So I called a guy, he's a for sale by owner, so he doesn't have an agent or anything. But, I am a licensed realtor, so I can represent myself. I can represent other people. I can represent myself. So in this deal, I'm representing myself. I'm not looking to represent him or anything. This is a personal investment deal I would be interested in. So he's like, hey, yeah, this house, I've had it for a few, he's a contractor. Okay. Let's just put it out there. He is a licensed contractor. And I get there and he's like, let me back up. So I talked to him on the phone. He's like, this house is a pain in my butt. I just want to, get rid of it. But, I want to sell it, and somebody serious, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, all right, I'm serious. I buy investment properties. This is what I do. Talking all this junk, like, no, we can't buy this house. But anywho, so he's like, well, hey, you want to come see it tomorrow? And I'm like, yeah, let's go. So we go see it. House itself, it's just as beat up and run down as any other house we've bought. Not a lot of curb appeal, nothing special, but it's the land. I look to the right, and like 5 feet away, there's a brand new house being built. Look on this side, brand new townhouses everywhere. I mean, just development everywhere. And we usually invest in Atlanta, and that's not usually what you see in the areas that we invest in, because we're baby investors. So, I mean, I'm excited. Like, man, I don't care what this house looks like. As long as we don't have to knock it down, like we can fix it. Cool. So we're talking to him like, hey, we're interested in the house. And, my husband's like, well, hey, we see the price. What what would you be willing to sell the house for? And we usually don't negotiate directly with the seller, right? There's usually an agent involved. So, it's a little different for us, but whatever. And he's like, well, I knew people were going to haggle, so this is the price I want. This is actually the price I'll take. He came down from what he had it listed on. And we're like, I was going there ready to give him an offer what he had it listed at because I wanted that house. And we only offer him like 10,000. He only wanted 10,000 less. That's not, if you're getting a loan, which we do, we use commercial loans. That's not a lot. So it's like, hey, I just want this man to sign, I want to move forward with this house. I don't want to be going back and forth over $5,000 or $10,000. I tell my clients that a lot. So y'all see, I practice what I preach. But my husband, he's African. So it's like, what would you do? So anyway, long story short, we agreed on a price and we said, hey, let's go and talk about it. We're going to let you know. Now, time is of the essence in any real estate deal. Anybody on here who's worked with me or talked to me, I always say that. And it's so true because somebody can say, hey, I'm not gonna accept anything today. We're not looking at offers to this day or this day. Yes, they are. They're looking at offers. And if they get one good enough, guess what? They're gonna pull the trigger. So you don't wait. Once you feel like this is what you want to do, especially as a buyer, because the laws are usually written in your favor, you got to go with it. You cannot be waiting, sitting, thinking, let me sleep on it. It just doesn't work like that sometimes. If you have to sleep on it, that's fine. This is a huge financial decision, but, and if it's your first house, I understand, but that's why you should trust the person you're working with. So anyway, we get in the car like an hour later. I call them like, hey, we want to do this deal. How much do you want? Where do you want to close? How long do you want to close? How much earnest money do you want? Whatever I can take to get this guy to sign the contract, like terms for him. So he tells me what he wants. Fine, cool. I go home, type it up, call him like, hey, I'm just letting you know I'm sending this over. I think we've got everything good. This. And he's like, yeah, I just want to let you know, I'm not going to be fixing anything on the house. I'm like, no due diligence, no inspections, no nothing. We'll put our earnest money on the line. If something goes bad, it's yours. Like just whatever you want. So we came up with terms. Cool. Told him read the contract. Let me know if you have questions. You're familiar with contracts, right? He's a contractor and he does like wholesaling and stuff. So he knows it's not his first time looking at a contract. So he's like, yeah. I said, okay, well just let me know if you have any questions. So doesn't text me back for a few hours or whatever. He's reviewing the contract. Totally fine. Really in my mind, I'm like, you know what? He's not going to sign his contract. He's, it's like Thursday or Friday. He's probably got more offers coming. But we're trying, he really is still not even thinking the deal's going to work. So anyway, I can't remember if it was the next day, but I opened my computer like, this guy signed the contract. I was so shocked. It was just crazy. Like, I just didn't think he was going to sign it. So anyway, he signed it. Now me and Ibrahim are like, oh man, we got to figure this out. So, so we take all that out. We're trying to figure it out. We're communicating with him. The weekend goes by. Monday morning, he calls me. He said, hey, Ashley, I'm a little embarrassed to talk to you about this right now, but maybe I signed the contract too soon. And I was like, okay, what does that mean? And he's like, well, I've got people that's offering me more money now. And, and that happens, I represent sellers. People come back and say, well, I would have gave you this, and that. So I tell them like, I don't, these people, they just saying stuff. But anyway, what do you need to feel comfortable? So I've been reading this book called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And I'm toward the end now, and he's talking a lot about negotiations, right? He's saying like, listen, when you're doing a negotiation, you really want to leave with both parties happy. It's not beneficial if one person is happy and the other person is not happy, because really every deal you do, and this is not a real estate book, this is just about life. And if you haven't read that book, I'm almost done reading it, but I'm about to read it twice. It's that good. So he's just like, everything you do needs to be mutually beneficial for people, because it just always makes sense. You may need them, they may need you. He preaches about it being win-win. It needs to be win-win for everybody. And I really, really like that, because we always have like a bad, like, oh, somebody's gonna do me wrong. And, so it's like, you know what? Every time I negotiate, I'm gonna, instead of me always thinking about getting one up on the person, like, I'm gonna try to make sure stuff is win-win. Like, let me make the other person happy. and let me adopt this. So this has been like my mentality for like the last few weeks before this deal even came up. So when he calls me and he's telling me this, that book pops in my mind like, hey, make them happy. Even though you're already under contract and the seller cannot change the terms, he's signed. I don't have to change anything. The contract is written. But I want to be a better negotiator, a better business person. So let me see what I can do. So I tell them, hey, I cannot make you any promises. I already submitted this loan to my partners that I work with for funding, and the ball's already rolling. So I don't know what's going to happen if I try to tell them, I want to change the purchase price. Now you can change the purchase price when you're under contract, but making it increase kind of changes your ratios, blah, 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 private money lending stuff. So I told him, listen, I'm going to try, but I'm not going to promise you, but I'm going to try. So for like a week, I tried to apply with 3 different people, minding you application fees, $200, $300, $400, $500 a piece. But I said, you know what? I want to make this work. I want a lender that's going to give me great deals. I want us to both leave happy. This guy is a good resource to have. I want to be mutual. I want to be, I want to leave with both of us, like maybe working together in the future. And so I tried, and what I found out, because the market has changed so much since I last bought a house in May, things are tighter now. When things happen in the government, things happen in the economy, lenders change, right? Like beginning of the year, they were just like dishing out stuff, not really looking at my budgets that we have to submit and stuff. And now they were like, you can't renovate this house for this amount of money. It's going to cost you more. And I'm like, well, how's it going to cost me more? And they're like, well, you got to pay for this and this and this and this. And this is not what they were doing like a few months ago. So I'm like, okay, well, how much do you think I need to spend on this house? And they doubled my budget. What does that mean? That means that they're making me carry interest on more money. My down payment is going to be way more. Basically, I had a nice little package of what would make sense and could work for the seller, me, everything. And by them doubling my budget, it just made me even closing altogether, us closing, it made it way more difficult that would even happen, because it was so much more things that we had to do. So then I started going to other lenders. I tell him what's going on. He said, hey, why don't you try this lady? I've used her before. So I said, okay, let me go with somebody he says, because, so I tell her from the beginning, hey, we're under contract for this price, but we want to increase it. But this is what we're under contract for. So can you run some numbers and see? So she ran numbers. Long story short, it didn't work. Okay. I tried multiple things. I'm thinking of this book. I'm thinking of like being just a good business person. Definitely want to like establish a good name. But it's not working. And if I would have pushed my lender more, they could say, well, we don't like your ratios now. And they could have just threw the deal out altogether. They could just deny it altogether. And I know this guy is not going to extend the contract, because he's got other people wanting to buy this house from him. And he's calling me every day, what's going on, what's going on, what's going on. And I'm being pleasant to him. And I know he's not going to extend. So if I rock the boat too much and the lender's like, hey, I don't want to deal with this, I'm going to lose the house altogether, because they're going to deny me and I'm not going to have enough time to go figure it out with somebody else. So I call him like a few days before closing. He texts me. I wanted to have his text pulled up on my computer, but I don't. But I might post those later. And he's like, well, I need you to figure it out. And I said, listen, I tried, but this is what we went under contract for. Like, I cannot help that people came back to you asking you or offering you more money. Like I understand, and I'm sure it's a lot more money, because when my lenders ran the deal, they're like, you're paying what? And that was not my intentions. I thought it was a good price, but after really digging into the comps in the area, it was a great price. Like, haven't got a deal like this since like 2018. And so, but I really didn't realize that until I dug in it. He listed the house for the price that he wanted to pay off his lender so he can move on. It's not like the haggle down that we did was like not barely $10,000. That in real estate, that's not a lot. Like, and really it didn't even take much haggling. It was like, hey, what do you want for the house? And then boom, he came up with the number. So he's like, you've got to figure it out. Your lender's got to figure it out because it's not fair. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but I tried everything. So now he's told me, well, if you don't want to figure it out, I'm not coming to closing. I'm not signing the documents. I'm not selling you this house. So that's when my tune changed, and I forgot all about the little book I read. And, I definitely stayed professional. As you're about to find out, he didn't. But, I said, listen, I'm very sorry. Like, I tried. Maybe I can work something out with you and get you a Home Depot credit or something afterward. He's like, nah, I didn't want to do this and that. And it's like, all right, well, I don't really know what else to tell you. Like, at that point, my lender had approved the loan as is. So I'm excited because I didn't even think we could get to that point. And we kind of figured out some things to make it work. It took a lot of us moving stuff around to make it work. We barely made it work, but we did. And I was happy. That was like something that we really worked together to get something that we really wanted. But unfortunately, we had to put ourselves over him because we knew he wouldn't give us an extension. And so he's threatening not to come to the closing. And the closing attorney calls me, he says that he's got to talk to you before he comes and signs. And I'm like, listen, I tell him there's nothing else to talk about. If you don't show up and sign, I'm going to file the contract with the court. Now in Georgia, if the seller tries to breach the contract and you didn't do anything wrong, you fulfilled all your obligations, you can do that. And you can go up there and put a lien against the house. And so I told him, listen, if you don't come and sign, I would be putting a lien against this property today. And that means you cannot sell it to anybody. And you owe your lender back. You only have 6 weeks left to pay your lender because he told me. And you're not even going to be able to do that because there's going to be a lien against the house. So now you're going to be in default with your lender. So really, please, do not make it get to this. And then he's like, oh, well, you want to take it there? You want to take it there? I said, no, I don't want to take it there. I really, 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 really don't want to take it there. But I cannot let this house just come from underneath me. I cannot just let you walk away when I didn't do anything wrong. You just want to breach a contract and you're mad because I wouldn't let you breach the contract. That's not right. That's not good business. And he's like, oh, don't be those kind of people. A contract isn't everything. Money isn't everything. But when I asked you, because another thing the book says is seek first to understand, then to be understood. So when I asked him, hey, what is it about this that's going to harm you? Why are you threatening so much? If you sell this house less for a certain point, is this going to harm your business? Is this going to put you on a bad track record with your lender? I'm trying to figure out, is there something bigger going on that I don't know about? And maybe I need to, understand. He don't tell me nothing. He just said he got people offering him more money. So at that point, it's like, I cannot. And so anyway, I call the attorneys and tell them what's going on. And everybody's like, listen, you show up, you sign, you wire your money, you act like you're going to close. Now, I cannot close unless the seller signs. But I can come up there and sign all the documents and say I did everything I was supposed to do, because if I have to go to the court, they're going to look at it and say, well, you can't just not show up because they didn't show up. You need to go sign, do everything like you tried to close. And if he did not come, I was not happy and I was really nervous about it, but there was no way I was going to let this guy get away with this. And he's a wholesaler and investor himself. So this is what he does for a living to other people. He robs them of their equity. But you're an investor. It's not your primary house or anything. Like, you just accepted our offer and then you started getting other offers and you regretted it. Well, I'm sorry, but I'm not just about to walk away. Like, this is something me and my family have been dreaming about, drooling over, everything. And so he's like, well, I'm not coming. The house can just, when I told him, like, well, if I file a lien today, or the day of closing, you don't show up, you will not be able to sell it to anybody. You cannot refinance the house in your name because the new company is going to see a lien. You're going to be stuck and you're going to have to pay my legal fees. It just doesn't make any sense why you would do that. And he's like, so you want to be there are children on this platform, but he said, so you want to be an a-hole? And I was like, oh. So now, I've been in a lot of tussles, a lot of back and forth, but nobody's ever like called me that in the business. But I mean, that's fine. Just sell me the house. I don't care what you call me. I just want the house. You're emotional at this point. So from the moment he texted me that's our last text. At that point, I did not respond to him because he was completely disrespectful to me. It's all right. I'm not worried about that. I want the house. But I didn't respond to him anymore because you're too far gone. And so I called the attorneys and told them what was going on. Hey, I don't know if this guy's going to show up. I don't know if he's going to sign, but I will be there. We will be there and we're going to do our part. And long story short, the attorney emailed me over the weekend and said he came in and he signed. And he signed because we have a legally binding, GAR contract, a Realtor Association contract. This is why these contracts are so important. And he knew that should he not show up, it would be an easy case to fight in the court. And I'm happy, so happy he showed up because I just did not want to go that route. In Georgia, they can force the seller to sell you the house. Some states you can just sue them. In Georgia, you can sue them for specific performance, and you could be forced to sell the house. You usually are. That's what my I'll just say that's what the legal people were telling me, and it's also written in the contract. So I just wanted to give y'all that story. It was really crazy. He has not reached out to me since. At this point, it is what it is. I cannot be scared or intimidated by someone trying to scare or intimidate us. We made a good faith contract, fair and square. He was not in distress. He was not, in some other like we had what's called a meeting of the minds, meaning we were all like mutually, positive about it. And he signed. And then you trying to go back on your word. And then he's like, other thing I forgot to mention, he's like, oh, you'll need, because he's like a big contract. You'll need me. I didn't need you to get to this point. And although I would have liked to have a relationship with him, I think it really saved me to see who he really was, because if he had not done this, I probably would have thought he was a good person. I would have worked with him on that house. And who knows, maybe he is a decent person, but I could never trust him. But it's a man, a grown man, name calling a female. I just think that says a lot about you as a person. So I'm not mad. It's fine. I don't care about him saying that. I just wanted the house. And so I'm just so glad he closed. And that's the story. So let me know what y'all think about what happened. Like, what would y'all have done? What you think? Have you been in something like this? Like, I'm just curious because I just thought it was crazy. And all the attorneys heard about it. When I got there, they were all telling me he was still calling the day I was signing, like, let me know if something changes. Let me know if something changes. Basically, like, seeing if we could actually close the loan. Well, there was nothing to call and see because we figured it out and we closed that deal. And I'm so excited and I'm so ready to open up in the spring. We don't know exactly what we're doing with the house yet, but we've got some plans. So stay tuned. Bye-bye.